Well, welcome back, ladies and germs. This is the Top 10 Movie Podcast with your host, Mulley and Mike. I'm Mulley. He's the aforementioned Mike. And we are, once again, travailing this, if that's a word, travailing this ever terrifying and exhilarating territory that is Top 10 movie lists that are totally subjective and not everyone agrees with us. Even just met a person today that didn't agree with one of my takes.
Oh my gosh, here we go. The beef has already started, man.
Yes, Allison, I know you're listening. This one's for you. Okay. So we've got an unusual list for you listeners today. But before we get into that, Mike, I just want to check in, see how you're doing, man. What's going on?
I'm doing good. So depending on when you guys hear this, it's probably going to be a few months removed, but we've got some things in place. Whenever you guys do hear this, obviously that means we will have already launched the podcast, but we're recording this months ahead because we're still working the kinks out, trying to get a bunch of these under our belt so we can do weekly drops or hopefully weekly drops. Because I don't live here. A lot of you people that listen to this probably know that. I don't live where we shoot in the city, but we're going to put these things out regardless of if we have one every week or not. No, but as far as how I'm feeling, I feel exhausted. Today is a Tuesday, which is a day we have never recorded on a Tuesday.
We never? Okay, I guess not.
We've done a Monday.
Yeah.
And our typical day is a Sunday. But it just so happens that this week that's actually spring break.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, because we don't have kids, so we shouldn't know stuff like that, I guess, anymore. But I took Monday and Tuesday off because I spent the weekend down in Conroe with one of my good friends and his wife, and they're a 5-year-old. So I'm the best man, I'm a good friend, and I'm also the uncle in that household. So it's kind of cool. I get multiple titles. And then
Try to be all three of those things plus a party animal on the weekend.
It's tough. It's tough, especially when you're 43. It doesn't get any easier. But yeah, no, I'm here. Mentally, I'm here. Physically exhausted. So
yes.
At this point, mental is all that matters. I'm here, man.
Attendance is like 100% or 95% of it just showing up. So you're here.
That's it, man. Because I'm committed. I'm committed to the cause.
There we go. And we're committed to our relationship as far as meeting like this. Like we've talked about the origin of this podcast, and the origins was always just me and Mike meeting and talking about movies, and then getting finished with a 3-hour conversation and be like, man, we should have recorded that. I bet that would have been a good podcast. So we just made that a reality. We brought in mics. Thanks to Mike bringing in the mics.
Mike on the mic again. Shout out to the old school clank. Yeah.
And then and that's what this has been. And then we've been just kind of developing what the show is going to be over time. Water break.
I've been hydrating all day.
Appreciate you.
All day. Because all this weekend, all I did was drink sodas.
Oh, yeah,
Thank
you
so
need
much.
that water.
Gotta make up for it. I had so many headaches from all this.
No.
I don't drink soda like that. Yeah, I guess. I've heard you can have headaches because the lack of caffeine. But I guess I was getting headaches because I was consuming so much caffeine.
Yeah.
My body's not used to it.
You don't have to worry about kidney stone stuff? Hasn't been an issue for you?
No,
That's
never,
good.
never has been.
But keep drinking water. Just
So hopefully I'll skate under the radar. Yeah.
No.
So a little health info for the viewers.
If they even hear that.
They probably will. We're cutting that out.
So, again, the origins of this podcast, we've talked about before, just us meeting, and now you guys are part of that conversation. So if it doesn't sound like your traditional podcast, it's because the structure is really structured around just conversation. And the beginning of this podcast, which we've recorded quite a few now, was just really just trying to figure out what this podcast is. And so some of the podcasts that you might hear may have been recorded months before. For instance, our 2024 look forward movie list might not come out till 2025. So maybe a
No. It's going to happen this year.
Retrospective of what we thought would happen in 2024. We'll see.
But you know what's funny about that? So what he's referring to is the top 10 movies that were most anticipated for 2024.
Right.
A lot of those movies have already come out.
Yeah.
And it's only March.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think the first movie that we talked about on that list has come out and been a pretty big success.
And I'm going to see it again this weekend, actually.
There we
we'll
go.
talk about Dune 2.
I thought we were going to keep that as a teaser.
Whoops.
Oh, spoiler alert.
My bad, y'all. My bad.
No worries. All right, so today's list which we didn't even talk about prior to this, which list we're going to do.
We didn't even do pre-pro today, so yeah, we're
good to go. No,
okay.
we're going to attack this top 10 non-Christmas holiday movies.
Okay.
All right, what movies are out there that are about or have some kind of association with the holiday, even if it's just in our own minds, right? Again, subjective list, guys.
Or it could be a fictional holiday.
Could be anything but Christmas. Just a holiday movie or something that has a pivotal scene during a holiday. That's kind of where I took it. Now, on my list, this is just for me, not for Mike, but on my list, one of the criteria was I had to have seen the movie. So I that's even tougher because I went through a bunch of lists of movies that have holidays associated with them, but I hadn't seen like 90% of them. So I made it a little bit harder on myself just because I wanted to make sure that I'd seen it. And then just because I'd seen it, it doesn't necessarily mean I remembered it. So actually Mike had to go back on YouTube yesterday and try to find those scenes. So I might not remember all the details about it, but I do know that each one of these has something to do in some sort of way with a holiday that's outside of Christmas. And I know that your list, a little bit more out of the box. You might not necessarily have seen the movie, but you know that it has a connection with the holiday somehow. So we're both covered. Because these list is that, I thought about that, but I didn't discuss that with you. We didn't set that as a policy. I just set that within myself.
Well, on top of that, I did this list 2 hours ago.
Oh, so, good Lord. Yeah. Well, at least we know we're putting a lot of work into this podcast. That's okay, because I did my list yesterday. Okay. So it's not a big deal.
Cool.
And you know what? Most of my list, when we come up with the idea for it, a little behind the scenes here really quickly, I usually come up with my top 10 list minutes after we discuss the idea and agree on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm pretty fast. I just put out what I do is I do an initial list, and then I go back later and see if I want to change anything or something I'm missing. And that's where a little bit of research comes in. But this time, I didn't do any of that because we had 4 lists that we had to choose from, and I just knew I had other things going on like you, and so I didn't push it off, but I knew that I had time. But then when I got into this yesterday, it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, especially particularly this list, non-Christmas holiday movies. And I'm going to start with Allison's favorite movie of all time.
Oh my gosh. We're doing this again?
Yes, because she's listening. She's our only listener at this point. I don't know.
We got 3.
Groundhog Day from 1993. That is my first, not necessarily number one of my favorite movies. We talked about it on this podcast before. If you've heard it or not, I don't know. But it is obviously about Groundhog Day. I don't know if you technically call that a holiday. I'm calling it a holiday, Groundhog's Day. And this is a movie that was made in 93. Bill Murray, Andie MacDowell, and then say it with me, Allison, Chris Elliott. Yes, Chris Elliott's in this movie. It is about a guy who experiences the same day over and over again, but he's a weatherman going out to Punxsutawney to cover the Groundhog Day events there, and he has to relive that day over and over again. And several of those scenes, especially at the beginning of the movie, surround the festivities around the groundhog. Whether he sees his shadow or not, it's going to determine how much more weeks of winter that we have or not. So it's that traditional, I don't know, is that a farmer's almanac type thing? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what that has to do with anything about if the groundhog sees his shadow or not, where that even started. But I consider that a holiday. Holiday is in the name of the movie, so that was a really easy pick for me. I have a couple of those, but the actual name of the holiday is in there. I think we both are thinking of one right now, and probably you at home as well. But Groundhog Day, let me go ahead and say that's my first one, non-Christmas holiday movie, because it has Groundhog Day in the title.
Okay. And that all makes sense.
Good.
And this time I'm not going to debate you.
I know. I'm just like I'm like a lawyer trying to stack my defense. And all right, go ahead. And the judge is like, okay, opposing counsel, and you're like, you ignorant slut.
No further. Whoa.
Like you know what I mean?
No further questions, Your Honor. The defense rests. No, that's a great choice. That's valid. It was valid last time, but last time I did go at you a little aggressively.
Oh, Allison killed me.
All right. You can stop saying that.
Allison hated.
You're saying it like she's here. She's not here.
I mean, she first laid eyes on me, and I could tell the disdain in her heart. Was just, I could see it because of my take on Groundhog's Day, which is okay. Like I told her, if you got haters, you're doing good in life. So
that's also true. Yeah, you're right.
But Allison being our only listener,
we have 3 listeners. I keep telling you.
Okay, Allison being one of 3 listeners, and a third of the fan base hates me. That's a pretty good hater ratio.
That means we still have 66.6% positive reviews. There you go. All right, so...
Oh, for you guys that don't know, we got doxxed today. One of our listeners actually showed up at the podcast, so... I've been telling Mike for months not to be giving away. He gave away his age. He gave away where he lived. He just said the word Conroe. You'll probably figure out where that is. We don't encourage. We love meeting fans, but this was a little stalker-ish.
It's not. So, it was not. Yo, you gotta chill.
Did you or did you not say you texted her?
I didn't say.
She pulled up beside you at the very second that you sent that text.
You can't say that.
Like poof. Like she appeared out of nowhere.
Nobody poofed. Okay. I would love to get to my first number one choice.
I thought you were going to say I would love to make someone poof, but I've never been able to.
I mean, I would love to try that, but that's not what happened today. Okay, relax.
Day.
Oh yes, Groundhog Day. Yes, all right. My first choice. Just gonna dive headfirst right into my favorite genre, which everybody knows. Say it with me at home. Horror. Yes. Yes, we should get some background music for that.
Horror? Yeah, there should be some really hokey Halloween music that comes up.
My first one on the list is it's Halloween, and I'm talking about the original 1978. I
avoided all Halloween because I knew you were going to come with this great.
I'm gonna have Halloween. I'm gonna have horror something on my list. Every list, you can't escape it. It's like you can't escape death.
No, I rely on you for that. Okay. So yeah, that's fine.
Okay, well,
you were the connoisseur of horror.
It's nice to know I have some contribution to this podcast.
It's small, but it's there.
So yeah, it's Halloween, the original 1978 John Carpenter classic. I mean, this movie takes place on Halloween. There's the intro to this movie is young Michael Myers at age 6 kills his sister on Halloween, and then they flash forward to 15 years later. So he's 21. He breaks out of the mental asylum he's been in, and he goes right back to his hometown, stalking babysitters on Halloween night.
And can walk around freely because he's got a mask on and it's Halloween and everybody thinks everybody's dressed up.
And also he stole the asylum's official vehicle, so no one's going to question that.
Yeah, that's like a great Halloween accoutrement. That's all.
What does that mean?
It's like just like an extra company of.
Oh, okay.
Like he's dressing up the part and he's driving the part and he's killing the part.
Well, one of the big things that people have always asked over the years is.
What is accoutrement?
No, that's not. We're not asking that ever again.
I don't even know if I'm saying it right.
Yeah, don't ever say that again.
Don't say it like this.
If you were locked up at 6 years old and you break out 21 years later, 15 years later, I keep saying 21, how do you know how to drive?
That's a good point. Yeah.
You were locked up from 6 years old to 21 years old.
Mm-hmm. Give up on the entire Halloween franchise. It all falls apart.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. The franchise does, yes, but no.
Is Jamie Curtis in
Jamie Lee Curtis,
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Mm-hmm. She's actually on this list. No, she's not on this list more than once. That's it.
All right. Good. Halloween.
She'll be on another list that we do later on, though.
And I'm guessing that this is not the last Halloween themed movie that we're going to have on your list.
We'll see.
Ooh, look at that tease. See, he wants to tease, but he wants to tease.
Yeah, I can't.
But he's going to spoil Dune 2 for you. All right, I see how it is. Gosh. My number 2 movie that's a non-Christmas holiday movie, and this is just tangentially a holiday-ish movie because the pending the ending scene, I guess maybe I wouldn't be considered the climax, but probably the biggest resolution part of the movie happened on a holiday, and that holiday is on Thanksgiving. This movie is a sweet, sweet romantic movie starring Keanu Reeves and Charlize Theron called Sweet November. I've
never heard of this movie.
It's basically this very attractive female in Charlize. Right?
Well, she is attractive, so
she picks someone for the entire month of November to swoon, basically to fall in love with, let them fall in love with her, and then she cuts it off, kind of a thing.
This is a sweet movie.
Yeah, this is yes, because ultimately, you find out the reason that she doesn't in this particular one, and I might not be remembering all the details. Remember, it's been a while since I've seen this movie, but it might have been she was picking somebody every month and then leaving them. But anyway, you ultimately find out. Spoiler alert: the reason she's doing it because she's got a life-threatening disease, cancer, and she wants to live the best part of her life in these relationships really quickly, and then doesn't want them to have to suffer through all the pain of her medical stuff. Anyway, she picks Keanu Reeves. They have a sweet November together, and then she cuts it off. although they have fallen in love, and then Keanu desperately wants to get back into her life, and then eventually does, and is willing to go through all the cancer stuff and whatever with her because he's in love with her. But anyway, he announces and proclaims his, not just his love, but his affection for her on Thanksgiving, when they're having this kind of family meal, but it's kind of a mismatch. It's really just friends, and she's parted ways with him, and he comes in through the window with a bunch of Christmas presents, and because he's kind of like, let's make Christmas now, because she didn't know she has until Christmas kind of thing, but it's on Thanksgiving. And he gives her these 12 gifts of Christmas, and each one represents something that they've went through together. And then basically by the end of it, he's like, I'm just not going to leave you, and we're going to spend the rest of our lives together, kind of a thing.
So basically he forces himself on her.
I bet she wants it. No, she's not forcing, because if you can't force someone if they want it. But she's just reluctant because she doesn't want him. She wants what they had to be perfect. And she doesn't want her illness to taint their relationship. That's why she keeps it. It's a perfect November. Like, we had the perfect month together. Let's not spoil that. Anyway, a lot of explanation for a movie you probably should have already seen, because it's pretty good, especially for like romantic movies. But Sweet November, pivotal scene on Thanksgiving. That's why I'm giving this a non-Christmas holiday movie check for me.
Okay. I'll have to check it out, because I liked them both in The Devil's Advocate.
Ooh, yeah. Boy, that's a deep hole. Yeah, I like that.
Also another horror movie that, I'm sure you haven't seen. Maybe you have seen, I don't know.
Is that Al Pacino?
Yeah.
Al Pacino's on my next movie.
Okay, got it.
No spoilers.
So next movie on my list is on the list because St. Patrick's Day takes place on one day in this film. And I think, in my opinion, it's probably one of the most iconic St. Patrick's Day movies, or St. Patrick's Day themed movies. This came out in 1999. This is Boondock Saints. Yes. This is about two brothers, played by Norman Reedus, and I can't remember.
Sean Patrick Flannery.
Thank you. Yeah.
Boom.
See, look at you. You
pulled it down.
You're doing me. You're me right now. You got the names.
I never know the names.
You never do.
I'm so happy I had that.
See, this is why I can rely on you. You're
reliable. Locked and loaded.
So,
Allison, get in here.
Can you please stop saying her? We have two.
She's outside the window.
She's not.
She's got her face is pressed up against the window like a cat, dude. It's right there.
Allison, I'm so sorry.
I'm not sorry.
Obviously you struck a chord, so now you're incurring all this wrath.
It's just a joke that just keeps it's just better every time I bring it back around. All right, I'm done.
So yeah, Boondock Saints. It's about these two brothers. They're basically just kind of living day to day, drinking at this local pub, and they're not doing anything special with their lives. One day they get involved in a fight, and they end up in jail, and they have this spiritual awakening, or this calling that we need to start doing something more with our lives. And for whatever reason, they decide we're going to start taking out local crime bosses and local crime syndicates in the city of Boston. And that's pretty much what these guys do. And then it turns out there's this single hitman out there taking people out as well that seems to be even more dangerous than the two brothers. By the end of the movie, we realize this single hitman is their father. And then they have this amazing ending scene where they take out the head of the entire crime boss syndicate in Boston. There's amazing speech, or this mantra that they chant together as a family, and it's in Italian, and I used to have it memorized. I don't anymore, so I'm not going to try to butcher it.
Right.
And there's a sequel that's not as good. There were plans to do a third one at one point, but I mean, Norman Reedus is one of the most popular actors on earth. He's in everything now. Walking Dead spinoff, and he's in The Ballerina, which is the John Wick spinoff.
Boom.
And then Sean Patrick Flannery. Who knows where that guy even is?
He was Powder in that one movie, Powder. That's my main thing that I knew him from before Boondock Saints.
Okay.
Powder was a hairless albino, like teenager who had the power of lightning or electricity, kind of a thing. He was like Carrie, a bit, It was a bit like Carrie, whereas the kids at the school bullied him so much that his power would come out.
Okay.
So it has a little Carrie to it. But Powder, good performance by him. I'm surprised that he hasn't been in more. He probably has, and we just haven't seen it.
Gotcha.
I like it.
But, I mean, yeah, Boondock Saints, pretty straightforward.
I need to see it. I've never seen it.
Whoa, you've never...
But the director, I have seen the I think I of course I'm not I haven't seen Boondock Saints, so I can't say this for sure, but I think maybe the story behind the movie is more interesting than the movie itself, because the guy that was directing it, my mind says the name Troy Duffy, but I'm not sure if that's right.
It is.
Oh, good. There's a documentary about him. That's him making that movie, and then at some point, like in the '90s, he was a name that was just as hot as Quentin Tarantino. Like he was like the next big thing, and then it seemed to all just fall apart. And the documentary about him and the Boondock Saints, specifically about him and his journey and all the things that he went to. For some reason, I associated that with the TV show Entourage. I can't remember what the connection was, but it was almost as if the true Hollywood stories behind the scenes of how everything worked out, kind of a thing. It would be on page of some of the things you saw in Entourage. Like it was that level of stuff that was happening, and why it didn't work out. He was in favor. He was in the favor of the studios, and then suddenly did some things where he was no longer that it boy.
Blacklisted.
Yeah. So check that out too. That's good. That's some especially if you're into filmmaking or like to get behind the scenes a bit. That's some crazy stories.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, my number 3, I teased Al Pacino, and this has. If any of you have gone to a Thanksgiving dinner that you didn't want to be at, or that is full of family strife and arguing, it can never top the Thanksgiving scene in this Al Pacino movie called Scent of a Woman, 1992. Al Pacino is a blind veteran who is ultimately on this trip to end his life, but he wants to experience the fullness of his life before he ends it. And so he is spending all of his money on doing these extravagant things, staying in nice hotels, eating great food, dancing and beautiful women, and like, just trying to get the most out of it before it ends. And this young boy has joined him on this kind of journey as his kind of assistant, because he needs a job, because he's in college and needs the money. And so it's a strange connection there, but there's a connection. Anyway, regardless, how does this have anything to do with holidays? Well, it has one of the most traumatic holiday family scenes ever, when Al Pacino gets into not really an argument because it's one-sided, but basically Pacino's character has been a bastard his entire life. He's been almost like a mean drunk without the drunk, just mean. Ain't no good, he calls himself. And it finally comes to a head. One of the family members just had it and just really tells him exactly all the things that he is and how terrible he is. And of course, Al Pacino feels like he deserves it because of some of the crass things that he said, and you can only imagine what he's done in the past. Because he said he was worse before he was blind, and now that he's blind, he's so bitter and saying things just out of pocket, things that I can't repeat on this podcast. It's pretty lewd. Gotcha. So anyway, this is just like, it ends Thanksgiving. It ends on a somber note. It's almost as if the character, you can tell that the Al Pacino character almost thrives in it, the causing of the chaos, but then is ultimately saddened by it too. It's a weird dichotomy of two different emotions. Like, he's sad that he revels in what he is, but he also is saddened that that's who he is. He's just no good for nobody, and this is the way he's going to end it, and it's sad. But it has a pivotal Thanksgiving scene that anybody who's ever dreaded Thanksgiving and the family aspect of it, this was the worst that could ever be of it. Okay. I guess other than fist fights and pulling out weapons or something, this is about as bad as it gets. But it has this just a really well acted, and if really telling scene about the character. Like, if you didn't know how bad or down rotten this guy was, you felt every bit of it during that Thanksgiving scene.
Wow.
Son of a Woman, 1992. Okay. Check it out.
Okay.
Al Pacino.
You didn't mention Chris O'Connell or Chris O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell is the
young kid.
Yes,
okay.
He's the young kid.
Okay, that's what I figured. Okay.
And Philip Seymour Hoffman makes an appearance in this as well. It's kind of a swarmy classmate.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good choice. Next one for me is also a Thanksgiving movie.
Hey.
This one's more of a traditional Thanksgiving movie. In my opinion, there's only two Thanksgiving movies officially. They're both on my list, so I'll get to the other one here in a little bit. This one is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah.
This is a Steve Martin and John Candy classic. Steve Martin is this New York business corporate guy. He's trying to get home for Thanksgiving. I think he's in New York. He's trying to get to Chicago. And he basically has this whole run-in with the John Candy character that ends up becoming a nuisance that Steve Martin really can't get rid of. Every time he thinks he gets rid of him, John Candy's character shows up in some capacity. And he just realizes this is going to be like the anti-buddy film, but it ends up being more of a buddy film by the end, where they do kind of bond. But they go through all these trials and tribulations together, and it's those conflicts and the situations they find themselves in that actually ultimately end up binding them together as friends in the end. John Candy's wife gets referenced in this movie multiple times to Steve Martin, just in conversation, just trying to learn a little bit about this guy. And Steve Martin just assumes like John Candy's trying to get home to his wife, but then towards the end we realize, he figures out the things that John Candy was telling him throughout the movie, that his wife actually is dead and has been dead for a while. And John Candy's like a shower curtain ring salesman, which is a very unique niche job. Wouldn't survive today in 2024 at all.
Hey, shower, they still need rings. They still need rings.
I mean, why don't you try it? You let me know how that works out for you.
Maybe I will. 3D print some rings.
Oh, there you go. All right, yeah. But John Candy is like this wholesome, sweet, like unassuming guy, almost aloof to some degree. And Steve Martin's like, I'm just trying to get home to my wife and kid. There's even a subplot of this movie that's cut out of the film that's kind of alluded to when Steve Martin calls his wife to say, we've been delayed again. There's other situations happen with the train. Now we're stuck. We've got to walk across this field to get to the airport, try to get rent a car. And there's like a lingering look the wife gives after she hangs up the phone. And with the deleted scenes, there's a subplot that was supposed to be added to the film where she thought he was having an affair. And that's why he was giving up these excuses of why he wasn't coming home or why he was always away on business. That they decided to get rid of that, but they left that in there because they did want to show that he is interacting with his wife and he is letting her know, hey, I'm trying to get there, but these things are all happening.
That makes sense.
Yeah. They did a remake of this maybe 14 years ago with Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis, Road Trip. Yeah. No, Due Date.
Due Date.
Yeah. It's similar. I mean, he's trying to get home to his wife who's pregnant. And Zach Galifianakis is the John Candy-esque type character. But Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is so far superior, a lot more heart. And you do kind of feel sad for him when you find out the truth.
I did. I've only seen bits and pieces of that movie, and I recently watched the ending. There's a scene where they're sleeping together, John Candy and Steve Martin, or in the same bed. Put it like that. And then one's snoring. And really, I've seen like that. I've just seen bits and pieces, but I watched the ending the other day. I think because of it was on one of our lists. And I didn't know all the preamble that you're talking about. But I did, but you realize that John Candy's wife is dead. There's a train scene where one gets on the train and one stays on the
Steve Martin gets on the train.
But then Steve Martin gets off and Candy's still there.
Yeah.
And Candy was supposed to go or something, right?
Well, that was supposed to be their parting of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, because basically...
that's where the moment he realizes that his wife has passed on.
Because you start hearing the dialogue from John Candy earlier in the film saying certain things about his wife.
Yeah.
And he realizes that he goes back and John Candy's still sitting there. Because he realizes he has nowhere to go. So he says, you come on with me. And they have the great shot of them carrying John Candy's big luggage trunk together down the street. It was really cool.
Yes, that is. That's cool. That is cool.
I can't believe you've never seen that movie. It's entirety. Wow.
No, not in entirety.
It's worth checking out.
And The Great Outdoors, I've never seen that.
That's another one worth checking out.
It's not the same area. Right?
John Candy is another John Candy special.
Well, if we're going to sit here and talk about movies I hadn't seen, we're going to be here forever. Okay. So, again, in our struggles, and particularly my struggle to try to find things that were holiday related but not Christmas, it's really tough. You guys never try to do it. Google it and try and see what movies that have to do with holidays that aren't Christmas related. It's a tough find, so give us a little leeway here. I wanted to pick a movie for Veterans Day because Veterans Day is an important holiday. And there's a couple movies that quickly came to mind. I'm going to reserve one for Memorial Day and then one for Veterans Day. But for Veterans Day, I picked Courage Under Fire, 1996, with Denzel Washington, Meg Ryan, Matt Damon, and Lou Diamond Phillips, and is ultimately about Denzel Washington. Thank you. Denzel Washington, is kind of a military investigator who is trying to investigate a situation where Meg Ryan's character is up for the Medal of Honor. She passed away in the line of duty, and the situation around her passing away was suspect or needed to be investigated. I think they do that anyway. They did an extra investigation because she was up for a medal. They just want to make sure everything was on the up and up. You kind of find out through the course of the movie that it wasn't. That some really crazy stuff happened.
Well, he's up against a lot of opposition as well. Like, people are not willing to be so forthcoming, and
Right.
his higher-ups that hired him to do this job are saying, well, just do it by the book and let's just get this out of the way.
But there's kind of a code. In the military, certainly, there's much more of an honor code between, and he has to break through that minutia in order to find the truth. That's all he's interested in, is really the truth. But then at the end of the day, the truth is she was worthy of the Medal of Honor, and even more impressive based on the circumstances of that her final battle was under. Great twists and turns in this movie. A lot of great performances. Matt Damon has a great performance, a memorable performance. This really skinny, really like.
It's frail.
Yes, really the thinnest I've ever seen.
This is before
Good Will.
Good Will Hunting, yeah.
Just before. Well, no, 94, 97, something like. Yeah, it's pretty much just before. And then Lou Diamond Phillips has a great part in this. Everybody in this movie is top tier acting wise, but the fact that it's about a veteran who died in battle and was honored with the Medal of Honor, I thought it was worthy of Veterans Day.
That's an excellent choice.
Cool.
The only thing that I say could be taken out of this movie was the side plot with Denzel and his wife. There's that little friction there. Like, he's always gone and she wants him to be home. And
Yeah.
of course, by the end, we're to assume that they work things out because the case gets resolved and the truth comes out and he finally goes home. And then we fade to black with him, hugged up to his wife. But everything else in that movie I loved the story. I loved how each version of the story you got added different details.
And like it would be in real life.
Yeah.
Like, everybody has their own perspective. I know some people are lying, obviously.
Yeah, so you get to a point where you're like, well, I don't really know what's the truth and what's not.
Yeah.
But it was a really good movie.
It was good. It was a really good
I was surprised to see Meg Ryan in a role like that. She isn't in it much. The movie revolves around her character.
Yes.
But it was a very drastic turn from the movies she's known for.
And not the last movie on my list, Meg Ryan is on.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Good more than that.
Excellent choice. Shout out to veterans. If you got veterans listening, shout out to you guys.
Yes. Yeah, and saved me on this list for sure.
Nice. Okay, so next one for me is the holiday that's celebrated is the fictional holiday.
Okay.
We're going back to horror. In one of my favorite classics, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Ooh.
This is Jennifer Love Hewitt, Ryan Phillippe, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Freddie Prinze. It's about a group of high school kids after graduation.
Tell me a movie's made in the 90s. You know what I mean? Without telling me it's made in the 90s.
Exactly, yeah.
Freddie Prinze Jr., that's all you had to say.
Yeah, if I give you those four names, you know it was in the 90s, 100%. Now, this was right on the heels of Scream.
Scream, yeah.
So Scream was 96, this was 97.
Final Destination was in that area.
That was 2000.
Of course.
So
Just trying to. Okay.
I can't help it, man. That's what I do.
I was trying to flex my expertise in horror. I'm like, Final Destination. You're like, excuse me, sir, that was 3 years after.
All right, listen, I don't have the glasses with the tape in the middle, okay?
What are you talking about? They can't see this.
No, but
They can't see me.
You gave me that nerdy voice. I don't talk like that. No, so I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's about a group of seniors just graduated. They had like a little, what do they call those parties out there on the beach? Bonfire. You never seen it.
I've never been to a bonfire.
But I guess I've seen enough movies.
I've never been to a
that.
party. What are you talking about?
But they do a little drinking and driving, and they hit this guy on the road, and they had this debate on, well, is he dead? Let's just leave him there because they're just a bunch of idiot 18-year-olds. They don't know what to do.
They don't want to ruin their lives.
Yeah. So they reluctantly all agreed to just like dump the body in the water. As they're about to do the last little pushover, they see his arm move, and then they still kick him out over the water. They make a pact to never talk about it again. A year later, the next summer, the kids have gone off to college. They come back for the summer, and they have this. There's a very small town. This movie takes place in a very small town, like wherever they have like a wharf. Like I guess somewhere on the East Coast, right there off of the ocean, like Boston, Maine, Massachusetts.
Yeah, it has that feel.
Yeah. And So every year they have this annual like Mrs. Small Town Princess Festival. I don't know what you call it. Okay, it's just
Jennifer Love Hewitt's winning that every year.
yeah, she should. But of course, in this, she's like the reclusive, introverted
Oh, okay.
heroine of the film.
Playing against type.
Yeah, so Sarah Michelle Gellar is the princess. She won it the year before, so the whole deal is you have to be in the parade to hand over your crown to the new champ, or the new crown winner. And so she gets killed the night of this little festival parade, and that's why it was on the list.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Good deal. I know what you did last summer. Okay. I'm going to go to New Year's here, the New Year's holiday, and
I couldn't find any New Year's movies, so I'm looking forward to hearing this.
well, there's actually a movie that is called New Year's. Either that or New Year's Eve. It's one of those compilation romantic movies that were so popular there for a while. You know, it all started with that one that was on Christmas. We can't do Christmas, but Love Actually. I think that's what was it. Love Actually. I think so. It was a compilation movie. There's a lot of different people going through a lot of different things, and they all fall in love by the end of it with someone there or themselves or something. Anyway, there was a real popular part. Anyway, that's not this. That's not this. This is a movie from 1989, and its pivotal ending scene. This whole movie's about a relationship between two people. The entire movie is. 13-year friendship finally turned romantic by the end of it, something like that. Might not have been 13, just faded memory, boys and girls. All right. When Harry Met Sally, 1989, Billy Crystal, Meg Ryan, Carrie Fisher. The climactic ending scene in this movie takes place at New Year's. And he confesses his love to her, and she's mad at him. And then he says, you know, things about her that are so personal, that why he loves this about her, he loves that about her. Every time she's the only one she wants to go to sleep at night with or talk to at night. It's kind of it was a big speech he gives her, and she's like, that's just like you, say stuff like that, and I can't hate you no matter how much I want to hate you. I can't hate you. Anyway, so they have their big kiss right at New Year's, and then that's when kind of the epilogue of the film takes place right at the end, where it just attaches on. Then it's like the big kiss at New Year's, and then the next thing is them being interviewed, like it seems like years later, and they've been married, and they're talking about that. And it's just the big climax of this movie, the big ending scene. You've been going back and forth in this movie with their relationship, and finally, when they finally decide not to be just friends anymore, that they are going to be a couple, it's at New Year's. So New Year's plays a pivotal part in this movie, and it's memorable because of that. So.
That makes sense.
Okay.
I don't think I could be friends with. Let me chill. So next one.
Say it with your chest, man. Say it with your chest.
I couldn't be friends with somebody for 13 years and then decide, I think I'll figure it out after a year or two.
Yeah, and it's been a long time since I've seen the movie, but it was more of an off and on. It was just an off and on thing, and yeah. It happens how it happens. Okay, my next one's going to be a big stretch, but we're not talking about that yet.
I was going to say, how dare you just cut me off and go right to the next one?
Next one's going to be a big stretch. I'm just letting you know.
All right, I'm ready to debate, so we can debate that. I can't wait. Next one for me is we're going back to Thanksgiving. Like I said a few minutes ago, 30 hours ago, whatever it was. This is Four Brothers.
Dude. Okay, it's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, mine too. And I thought you might have it on your list, but I was like, if it is, it's cool, whatever. We can both have it.
It would be. It would have been if I remembered.
Okay, yeah, so this is, Mark Wahlberg, Tyrese Gibson, Andre Benjamin, and Garrett Hedlund.
Yes.
And then a great, iconic villain performance by Chiwetel Ejiofor. To me, he channels Denzel in his performance as the villain in this movie.
I have to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was him.
Yeah, that's him.
Okay.
And it's about these four guys who, they're not brothers by blood, but based on the way they were raised, they were like strays or throwaways. Criminals.
I remember now. There's an ending scene, like a climactic scene with his lieutenants.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
There you go.
Good.
Yeah. So there's this lady who lives in this town, and she kind of takes strays in.
She does.
To kind of keep them off the street and tries to instill values and morals in these kids and raise them up to be men. Basically.
That is a famous actress who played that too.
It wasn't Ellen Burstyn, was it?
No. She was known, I think, for being Martha Kent. Superman, but no, It'll come to me. It'll come to me.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, she gets killed in the beginning of the film. That's what brings these guys back home. They're there for this funeral. One of the cops in the film is Terrence Howard.
Yes.
Who I thought was great in his role. We just didn't get enough of him. And they basically, these four brothers decide, well, somebody killed our mom and we're going to figure it out why. We're not going to wait for the police to do their investigation and do it by the book. We're going to do it the way we know it. We came from the streets.
Mark Wahlberg is the most Mark Wahlberg I've ever seen him Wahlberg.
All his dialogue is improv in this movie. There's no...
Is it?
Yeah, the whole thing for him. It all is. So
what it is? They did this whole movie improv?
Well, he did.
Okay.
Yeah, and then when you watch it again and you listen to what he says...
It's a John Singleton movie, by the way.
Yes, classic.
One of my favorite John Singleton.
Mm-hmm, same. And they
Too Fast and Furious is on that.
Oh, it shouldn't be, but all right.
Yeah, I do. I can't help what I love.
And in the end, they do get street justice. And there's a very pivotal scene where one of the brothers does get killed, and they have the villain of the film sends his goons to take the brothers out. And there's an assault on the house, and they have to defend the house. And one of the brothers gets lured outside. And it's the youngest brother. And if you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it because it is worth seeing.
No, I mean, look, if you hadn't seen it, it's been 20 years. What are you doing?
That's true. That's true. Gary Hedlund does die in this. He's the youngest of the four brothers. He gets lured outside.
He's kind of the wild child.
He is.
But he's the baby of the family, too.
And out of the four guys, they kind of treat him as like the stepchild of the four, even though they're all basically...
But they really love him. Like they do. Like he is but they treat him like who'd you expect adopted older brothers to treat.
Absolutely. And it's a hard thing to watch because
it is.
They basically hold their brother while he's dying.
That basketball court scene, I keep thinking about that with Wahlberg. And now that I think that was ad lib,
I got the rock now. What you gonna do? And then they get that one guy hemmed up, and it's like, what is this, aluminum? He's talking about his chain. Like, he don't even spin. Yeah, man, you got to go back and watch it and just listen to his dialogue alone. It's worth it.
He says, I can never say it, but he was telling everybody, thank you for your time. In Akalaka Lakem or something. I can't never say it.
Assalamu alaikum.
It. He says that, and it really pisses people off.
No, it's a great movie.
It's funny.
But they do.
I can't believe I said that.
Neither can I. We'll edit it out.
You know what I meant.
I'll leave it in so that the black audience members can check you.
Sorry, check me. Sorry.
He lives in Thailand. I'll come get her.
Oh, Lord. Doxing me.
Nah, I'm kidding. It's all good. You're safe. You're safe. I got you, bro. But this movie is a Thanksgiving movie because the very first scene when the brothers all come back home that evening, they decide to have Thanksgiving dinner, and they sit at the dinner table, and then they honor their mother by leaving the chair she used to sit at empty, and then they all have memories of when they were there as children, and she would say, hey, Ed was off the table, and
she spent they go back to flashbacks of specific memories of this woman really caring for them and giving treating them differently, like, knowing that each one has a different needs.
Right.
She was a special woman.
That was a great scene too, because when they do Jack's memory of her, the youngest son, you could tell in his acting, he takes it the hardest. Like, you could tell his eyes are red. He's like fighting back tears. Like, that whole scene was believable. And I just love the dynamic between the four brothers. It was all cool.
Good.
Yeah.
It is good.
So
good. Four brothers. Yeah. Love it. Oh, we didn't even think, how does that relate to Thanksgiving? Did we even talk about that?
At the dinner table scene, it's Thanksgiving. They decided to have Thanksgiving dinner at that.
That's right. Yeah. They're just like, let's be a family.
Yeah.
It's almost like the most forced Thanksgiving ever. Like, one of them wants to be with a girl or something. And then the one's like up in his room listening to rock music.
Yeah.
That's great. We're going to have Thanksgiving dinner. We're going to honor our mom. And then they like get pissed off or something. They just go outside or something. Like real Thanksgiving. Yeah. That might be the most authentic Thanksgiving of all time. Okay. Like I said, this one's going to be a stretch. This one's the pivotal beginning scene of this movie takes place or is surrounded by a New Year's party. So that's why I selected this movie, but it's a romantic comedy, sci-fi romantic comedy called About Time from 2013, and it stars, let me find my note here, Rachel McAdams is probably the most famous one that we know, and Domhnall Gleeson, yeah, and Bill Nye is also in this. But it's about a young man who, I believe it's either his 18th or his 21st birthday, discovers and is told by his father that all the men in his family can travel back in time within their own lives only. So they can't go to the future, but they can travel back and re-experience things and redo things as themselves.
Okay.
So to test this out for the very first time, the son, who doesn't believe the father, goes into a closet like he's instructed to do, closes his eyes, clenches his fists, and thinks back to a time, and he's supposed to be taken there. So he thinks about the night before they had a New Year's party, and he gets something happened, a kind of a flash or a more of a flash sound happens, and he steps out of the closet, and he's wearing different clothes, the clothes he had on the night before, and it is that New Year's night. So the first scene that he time travels and experiences this is just happens to be on a holiday. It happens to be during the New Year's, and instead of you got to see what he did the first time around, and then you get to see what he does the second time around. Mm-hmm. One of his friends tips over a bunch of drinks the first time around. He avoids his friend from doing that the second time around. This girl, who is just a friend, who's kind of in love with him, but she's not in love with her as much. She wants him to kiss him, but he doesn't. The second time around, he does kiss her, and she's so grateful. So it is used as a plot device to show the time travel aspect of it and kind of what the potentials are of that. But because it takes place on New Year's Day at a critical point in the film, I give it credit for being one of the holiday movies. Although, admittedly, it's a stretch. But About Time, 2013, time travel romantic movie. It's a good movie.
It's not as much of a stretch as I thought it was going to be. So
okay.
I have nothing to say.
In my mind, I think I'm trying to justify it for myself.
Gotcha.
So I'm like,
okay.
Okay, I know that it only has one pivotal scene, but it is a pivotal scene.
All right. No, I'm going to let you make it this time. Well, we can debate another movie.
Yeah.
Next one for me is this. Again, this is a movie that it takes place in a small fictional town somewhere in the Midwest, and it's a fictional 4th of July. They call it the 4th of July Crab Festival. So small town, they get together. The city shuts down, and they do little setup, pop-up shops, and they have little kid rides. And
sounds great.
Yeah, it does. But it also sounds hot. It's outside. It's near like this local lake. This movie's called The Bay. It's close to the bay.
Okay.
It's a horror film. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is.
It's the third one.
Something bad that happened. Like you're painting a beautiful picture.
I do that on purpose.
Yeah.
I paint the picture so I can tear it down, And so you have this local reporter. She's just like documenting the event. She's this young reporter trying to make a name for herself. She works for the local news station. They send her out there to just cover this happy-go-lucky family day. And surely enough, one person starts to get sick with this, weird illness. They can't figure out what it is. It's not food-related. It's not heat stroke, because it is the 4th of July. It's not because of the heat. It's not something that they ate or drank. There's something going on. Goes to the hospital. We don't see that person again for a while. And then as the story unfolds, more people start to get sick. Same illness, same reaction to whatever's going on. Eventually the CDC has to get involved, and they kind of come in. It's like a found footage type movie.
This is pre-pandemic?
Oh yeah. This is like 2013 maybe?
It's like, because I can't, since the pandemic, I have no interest in seeing like the movie Outbreak. You know that movie?
Yeah,
Dustin Hoffman? I just can't now. It would send me into a whole area.
Or Contagion, same thing.
Yeah.
That movie is eerily close to what happened in 2020. If you've ever seen
yes, I have. And
yeah.
I didn't want to see it. It's like if you were not a hypochondriac before.
Yeah.
Like it would make you one.
Yeah, 100%. So so this movie is found footage style. So majority of the footage we see in this film is from the cameraman and this local reporter. But they also do cut to the local doctor who's passed into the CDC because they're trying to figure out what's going on. Like, our hospitals get flooded with people with this random illness. We can't figure out what's going on. We can't find any traces of anything. Come to find out there's some fungus or some virus in the bay, and it's like latches on to as a host, and it like takes over the people's bodies, so they kind of become like zombie esque. But not like Walking Dead, not like World War Z, anything like that. But it just kind of takes over the person's mind, and they kind of go insane. Eventually, they die. And these people, like leading up to their death, like they look like blood is coming out of orifices. It's very gory, which I'm not really that much into, but it's a great story.
You ever figure out what the cause of the origin of?
They just found out that it was like something
in the bay.
Something in the bay, yeah. Okay. But then, of course, the CDC gets involved, the government gets involved. And they decide we're gonna cover this up because by the end of the movie the whole town gets infected. And dies. Even the reporter. It's a crazy movie, and I liked it. Not just for this list, but in general, because it seems like something that could possibly happen in real life. Because I mean, we don't know what's out there in those filthy bodies of water. You know, we have no idea. People go out there.
We know there's plastics, but we don't know about anything else.
Yeah, we know there's plastics, and large bodies of water scare me anyway. So it plays onto my fears.
Have you ever been on a cruise or anything like that?
Once.
And did that bother you?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. I've been twice
Thank you.
on a cruise twice. So I would do it again. But again,
It's something about being on
you.
something that big and that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's almost just like riding a skyscraper on the ocean. So it's a little bit.
Well, it's funny that you asked that because when I went on my first cruise, my pops did ask. He's like, "Well, you're afraid of water. How are you going to do this?" It's like, "Well, I'm going to be up in a big boat. There are life rafts.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're good. If it happens, it happens. But thankfully it didn't. The week after I got off the cruise, the next group of people that got on that boat was stranded for a week out at sea.
All right, stranded. Why?
Something happened with I think the motor on the boat. It went out, and they were just stuck out there for like a week.
A week.
Yeah.
All right.
So dodged a bullet.
Yeah. Jeez Louise.
But yeah, so the Bay, it takes place on the 4th of July in this fictional world, so that's why it's on the list.
All right, wonderful. Well, not wonderful, but you know what I mean. All right, so I wanted to follow up with one other thing really quickly. Do you think found footage films that just a thing of the past now? Is it dead?
Yeah, I think it kind of had its run.
It started with Blair Witch.
Blair Witch Project that we know of. I mean,
the most popular.
Yeah, that's what kicked it off.
Yeah, because it was super successful.
Mm-hmm. And then of course after that, like every other horror film that came out for the next 10 years was found footage, and some were more effective than others. I've seen a lot of found footage movies, horror films that work really well. Cloverfield's not really a horror film; it's more sci-fi with a monster.
I like Cloverfield, yeah.
And that was.
So it's not a horror film because I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Another romantic film for me, because as you pull up horror stories, I pull out love. That's how it works. Sleepless in Seattle, 1993. Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan.
So you and Meg Ryan, man.
I told you she was back on this list. I don't know. I'm not a huge Meg Ryan fan, but she just ended up popping up on a lot of these movies. So basically, Tom Hanks is a widower, and his son calls a national radio station to ask this doctor that if she can help her father, who's lonely and sad all the time and depressed, because his wife, who passed away a year and a half ago, and he hadn't seemed to be able to get his life together since, and just kind of floating by. And Meg Ryan, a reporter for some newspaper, that tells you what, this is 93, so she's a reporter for a newspaper. She gets put on the story to try to figure, there's so many women listen to this particular radio show, and like 2,000 of them called the radio station to try and get Tom Hanks's number because of his answers about his wife and what he thought of her and how hard it's been without her. And so Meg Ryan's assigned to try to find him and then find out his story, and ends up they fall in love. That's basically what it is. But the holiday portion of this is a pivotal scene. The ending scene on the top of the Empire State Building takes place on Valentine's Day.
Of course it does.
So Valentine's Day, they meet at the top of Empire State Building. It was supposed to be kind of this romantic gesture because a movie back in the 30s with Cary Grant did something similar. Mm-hmm. And so she makes this proposal that if it's meant to be, they'll meet on the top of the Empire State Building in 6 months, or I think it was 6 months. And that just happened to be on Valentine's Day. And they meet, and then at the end of the movie, there's a kind of dated CG scene where you pull back from the Empire State Building, and it has hearts in the shape of the windows make the shape of a heart, and there's a kind of 360 spin around the really roughly CG building and into the stars.
Right.
But it just cements the idea that this was on Valentine's Day, and good things like this happen on Valentine's Day. So Sleepless in Seattle, my non-Christmas holiday movie for Valentine's Day. But you could really throw in almost any romantic comedy or just romantic movie in general.
Okay.
And make it Valentine's Day. But at least this one did take place on Valentine's Day, this pivotal scene.
The fact that you've chosen so many rom-coms
Yeah.
makes me wish I could follow that up with my Bloody Valentine. But, I mean, I hated that movie. It wasn't that good, so I can't use it.
Oh, okay. But, it doesn't... one of the things we didn't specify is it had to be a good non-holiday movie.
Yeah, no, but everything else on this list supersedes My Bloody Valentine.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would never, it would never be on any list like this.
Okay.
But just because you've already thrown out so much love, I want to throw in some blood and gore for Valentine's Day. You know what I mean? But we'll keep it, we'll keep it safe.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, next one for me, it's 4th of July again.
Okay.
And I mean, come on, it's Jaws.
Nice.
I bet you never thought I would say Jaws on any of my lists.
I didn't know. I've never thought that you would be excluded from Jaws. Jaws was such a, I think, a pivotal point in filmmaking, specifically blockbuster filmmaking. That I didn't.
But you know me, I try not to go with the big movies. I try to go more obscure.
Yeah, but it's been a long time. I don't even know if people can consider Jaws a big movie anymore. Not by today's standards, you know what I mean? But,
yeah, if you were to watch it now for the first time, it wouldn't hit the same as it would 20 years ago.
But they didn't have as many selections out there either.
Also, that's true, yeah.
They were watching 3 channels on TV, and, you had to go to the drive-thru movie to go watch a movie a lot.
Best shark movie of all time?
Undoubtedly.
Okay.
What else is there?
The Meg, Sharknado.
Meg. Sharknado.
Jason Statham?
On the same level as Jaws.
Homeboy from 90210 was in Sharknado. Come on, the guy that nobody cared about.
The curly haired guy.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. See,
Zachary something, I think. No, I was thinking about the one Deep Blue.
The Deep Blue Sea. With
LL
Cool J and Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah,
I was thinking about that one maybe, but the CG didn't hold up. I mean, the shark coming out of the water.
It's bad. It's real bad.
And this didn't rely on any CG. This was a real shark in the water. I mean, not a real shark. Sorry, a real animatronic shark in the water. So this was and a lot of the fear in this movie, Jaws, and this is your movie, and I'm talking about it. But a lot of the fear was generated through anticipation, not showing.
Wanted to see what it looked like, but they just a fin.
And that music, dude.
Yeah,
the music did it. 90% of it feels like.
For sure.
Anyway, Jaws.
That's really all I had to say. I mean, the shark attacks on the 4th of July. I mean, it's like it's funny because every summer now they do. I think it's Discovery Channel. They do this Shark Week series where they have all these shark specials on. It's always in the summer. And I mean, you don't get that without Jaws.
The angst that movie provokes with footage of just people having a good time at the beach is crazy.
Yeah.
Because you know what the movie is going into it, and you see all these people on the beach, and I think, if I remember, I can remember hearing people be like, "Get out of the water," but it's just like it's just a movie of people having fun and frolicking in the water.
Right.
But what's coming. They don't. They're just having fun.
So the poster for that movie triggers my thalassophobia. If you know what thalassophobia is.
I don't.
So thalassophobia is a quick science for you guys.
Yeah.
It's an irrational fear of large bodies of water.
Oh. Okay.
Irrational fear. So. Like,
I think it's a rational fear, but that's just me.
I mean, it's rational for me. Let me tell you, because the image of the poster is the shark, I guess, bottom down, so it looks like more like an arrow, and he's pointed up at this chick in an inner tube.
Oh yeah.
And then in this large body of water.
Yeah.
So the poster for me is triggering. I can't look at it. Yeah.
What's it called again?
Thalassophobia.
I thought that was a Pokemon. Okay. Or a dinosaur. The
Thalassophobia.
Is that a meat eater or a carnivore? Is that?
It's stupid, bro.
This movie has nothing to do with a holiday, but everything to do with a holiday. It's a weird thing for me. Here's why this movie is on the list.
Okay, now we're going to debate. I'm ready.
This is a big one. When I thought about this list, I think I came up with this list. The idea. This is the first movie that came to mind. The very first movie.
But you waited until number 7 or 8 to add it?
Because there is no specific reference to the holiday in this movie at all. Entirely. But when I think about this holiday, and if there's a movie connected to any holiday outside of Christmas, this is the first one that came up for me. So I included it. The name of the movie is The Quiet Man, 1952. This is a classic romantic drama starring John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara, directed by John Ford. This is a movie that is based and filmed in Ireland. So St. Patrick's Day, when I think about St. Patrick's Day and everything that it represents Irish, and if there was a movie that's connected to that, this is the one. The cinematography won an Oscar for this movie. It is green. When you dream about what Ireland is, the green of Ireland, this movie personifies that.
This is 1952?
52.
So it was in color or no?
It was.
Okay.
Or that, or I saw it colorized, one of the two, but it's in color the way I've seen it. In 52, that's about right.
Okay.
And then it makes you want to go to Ireland. It makes you want to go there. I don't know if you want to live, but want to, like all the charm of a small Irish town. It's about a boxer, played by John Wayne, who returns to his hometown that he was born, where his mother was. I believe where his mother passed away was in this town, and it has left him a cottage. So he goes back home to kind of reclaim and rebuild his family home.
So back home is Ireland for him?
Ireland, but they don't know him there.
Okay.
But once they figure out who he is, he's kind of an outcast at first.
Mm-hmm.
Once they figure out who he is, then they embrace him. They love him, and it's about him falling in love with a strong Irish woman that lives there, beautiful red-haired girl, and
do either of them use accents in this movie?
She has a heavy accent.
Okay.
He does not. He's American.
Okay.
It's John Wayne. If any of you film historians, I guess now would know that name. I mean, he's the ultimate man's man. He is mainly known for his westerns. This was a departure for him. This was a romantic movie, which was different. Although there have been romances, obviously, that he had in some of his western movies. This was really just a romantic, kind of a little bit of action, a little bit of comedy, but mainly just a romantic movie. Anyway, it is the very idea of what this represents, Ireland and the Irish people, that it makes me instantly think of if there's a movie I'm going to watch on this holiday. It would, it reminds me of St. Patrick's Day. It's this movie.
Okay.
So that's why this is on my list, The Quiet Man. It features local traditions by the Irish people. It's full of Irish people, full of Irish actors, and it makes me want to go to Ireland. So, yeah, The Quiet Man, my St. Patrick's Day pick.
Okay. I'm trying to think, is there a debate in there? I don't think there is, though. So you dodged a bullet twice this episode, man. I got to catch you on the next one. All right, good choice.
We all know who's out there disagreeing with me.
Oh, my God.
I said I wouldn't mention that name.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Please. Next one from me, we're going back to 4th of July.
Yeah.
So the last 4th of July movie was The Bay. This one actually is lighthearted and takes you back to your, or at least to our childhood. This is The Sandlot.
Dude,
Yeah,
okay, good.
Yeah. The reason it's on this list is to me, it's the most iconic scene of the movie. I know you could argue the chase or the pool scene.
If you notice, I'm not arguing any of these with you.
No, because you would lose. No, I'm kidding. No, so they do have one moment in the film where it's the 4th of July, they do fireworks in the city, in the town, and they play a baseball game at night because the fireworks illuminate the field.
So awesome.
And it's to me, it's my favorite scene of the film. And they've got I can't remember who sings it, but it's the iconic version of the Star Spangled Banner.
Whitney Houston.
It's not. She wasn't even around. Well, she was like that, but no, it wasn't her.
I think she had done the Super Bowl. That's why it's iconic. She did the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
And that was the greatest.
And she had the red, white, and blue jumpsuit on.
It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
92.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she knocked it out
Is
the
that
park.
the same one where Michael Jackson performed halftime? Might not have been.
I can't remember. Yeah, I don't know.
It was right. You know what? It was so iconic because Desert Storm.
That's what it
during
was.
that time,
Yep, you're right. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, Sandlot, that one particular scene, that's what solidifies it for me as a 4th of July holiday movie. I could watch just that one scene, and you can almost kind of get what the movie's about just in that one scene, because you see the camaraderie between these kids and their friendship and their bond that they found through the love of baseball. And when you think about baseball, it's like, they call it America's pastime, and of course there's a patriotic moment in the film, which I'm not gonna say this I'm a patriotic person, but like in that moment you do feel a sense of pride and joy and all this and that. So
one of the biggest, most patriotic things that I felt in a long time was Field of Dreams also has to do with baseball, and they had a Field of Dreams baseball game with major league players playing out in Iowa in a cornfield.
Really?
Yeah, and they just made a perfect baseball field, and the cornfield was in that far outfield, and they had stands, and they were like the Yankees and somebody else was playing, I think, and they do it. Apparently, they I don't know if that was the only time they did it or it's a yearly thing, but they talk about just really feeling like baseball's America's pastime.
Yeah.
It's that moment.
That's cool. I like that.
I think football has bypassed it myself because of the popularity.
Right.
And I don't know how many young people are, who knows? That's a whole other debate. That's another top 10 list on another show. All right. You talked about Independence Day. I like your pick. One of my fondest memories is playing sports in the dark. I always thought that was so much fun as a kid.
Yep.
And my second to last movie on the list has to do with Independence Day, and it's titled Independence Day.
There it is. I knew it was going to happen at some point. I was just waiting for it.
Okay, good. Will Smith, Bill Pullman, Jeff Goldblum. Obviously, a sci-fi action picture that has to do with aliens invading Earth coming together jointly to figure out how to defeat them, and ultimately on America's Independence Day, making it a world holiday, giving us independence from the aliens when they're defeated. So Independence Day, dual meaning in the film, triple meaning in our list, non-Christmas holiday movie. Enough said.
One of the most iconic speeches by Bill Pullman.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So good. All right, so my second to last one, I'm going to actually switch it and take it off the list because you mentioned St. Patrick's Day with the Lonely Man. What was it?
The Quiet Man.
The Quiet Man, same thing. Quiet, lonely. And it got me to thinking about St. Patrick's Day. There has to be another movie that implements that some way, and this movie does. So I'm going to switch it. This is Harrison Ford, Tommy Lee Jones, The Fugitive.
Ooh, okay.
Oscar winner from 1994.
That's right. There's a St. Patrick's Day parade in that movie.
And that's how he escapes.
That's how he takes somebody else's hat.
He takes someone's hat, he puts a little green hat on, gets away.
Was the guy not mad when he took his hat off his head?
I don't know. No, didn't he find it in the trash?
Oh, maybe he did.
Yeah, because I know he flipped his jacket inside out. I think he found a green bowler hat in the trash just sitting on the top of it.
Okay, maybe that's what it was.
And then he mixed in with the little parade going through the
because
city.
you wouldn't want to piss somebody off.
Yeah, definitely not.
Because I was thinking about, there's a Tom, in Jack Reacher film, Tom Cruise gets out of the car and lines up to get on the bus, and then the guy beside him gives him his hat to cover him up. That's a real bro move right there. 100%. That is like, I don't know what because he has no clue what he's running for the cops from.
At all.
But it's just such a smooth move. He's got to respect it. So he's like...
Yeah, because he gets out of the car and the car's still like coasting down the road. Yeah.
And I think that guy that gives him that has got to be somebody because the camera lingers on him when Tom gives him the hat back.
You're right.
And there's like a really wiry smile that the guy gives, and it makes me feel like that should be somebody associated with that. I don't know, like that might be the book author or something.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. I didn't think about that. But
and I know that's not the book author because in the TV show Reacher, the last episode of the first season, the author makes a quick appearance. When Reacher walks into a diner, the author walks past him.
Okay.
And so I know that what he looks like. But it's almost as if, and we're talking about Reacher. I'm sorry. Let's go back to what you were saying.
Yeah, no, The Fugitive.
Fugitive, yes.
Harrison Ford, which I thought his performance in that was probably one of his best.
Oh my! And Tommy Lee too.
And Tommy Lee Jones, yeah, and he should have won an Oscar for that if he didn't. I don't.
He
remember.
did.
He did. Okay.
He did.
Deservedly so.
I don't care.
Yeah. So Tommy Lee Jones is a U.S. Marshal, and he's tasked with finding, tracking down Harrison Ford's character, who's been framed for murder of his wife. There's a bus crash that's transporting these criminals to another jail facility. Yeah, and he's on the run, and then they almost catch him like 3 or 4 different times.
Yeah, he should have been.
And all while in this, he's trying to prove his innocence. He's doing his own detective work to figure out who this one-armed man really is, how he's connected, and then there's the reveal at the end. And Tommy Lee Jones finally catches the guy, but he realizes this isn't the guy; it's this other guy.
Yeah,
great story.
Really good.
Anytime that movie's on, I don't care what part it's in, I'm watching it. You got to, yeah.
Dude, yeah, and when he almost gets caught because the room that he's renting, the son of that landlord, is like drugs or something. I forget what he was arrested for, but it's like right above. It was crazy. You thought it was it.
Yeah.
And they were that close, like always that close to catching it. It's crazy. It's a great movie. Okay, my last movie on the list, and this one goes out to all of our veterans and specifically on Memorial Day, those that we remember that have passed on. It's probably the greatest military movie of my lifetime, Saving Private Ryan, 1998. I can't tell you how epic that opening scene was for Saving Private Ryan, storming the beaches of Normandy, I believe.
Visceral too, like body parts being blown apart, everything.
As realistic, I think, as they could probably make it. I don't think anybody could do more than just being there. And recreated in video game form too, as well. I've done that, and that's crazy. First person video game.
Yeah.
And in VR as well. But it certainly can't match. But anyway, Saving Private Ryan, the story of a group of soldiers who survives the war and then has to traverse the war to try to find one individual, one soldier, Private Ryan, who's all of his brothers. I think he had 3 or 4 other brothers who had all passed away, and who had died in battle, and there's one remaining brother out of 4. And the military decides that the mother of them has suffered enough, and they have charged this group of soldiers to find Private Ryan, to bring him home safely, so that his mother doesn't lose all of her children.
Right.
So it is about these men who really sacrificed themselves to find Private Ryan, who's played beautifully by Matt Damon, who the movie's named after him, but you don't see him till right at the end. And it's kind of a treat that it's Matt Damon at the end.
Think about football over there.
Yeah, well, no, it's Private Ryan, Matt Damon.
Yeah.
But Matt Ryan, come on. It's everybody knows it's about Kirk Cousins now.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, so Saving Kirk Cousins is a good.
Saving Kirk Cousins. Oh my god!
Thank you so much.
That's hilarious. Saving Kirk Cousins.
Saving Kirk Cousins. We got it. He's got to be saved no matter what. All right. So Saving Private Ryan. It perfectly, in my mind, I've never experienced it obviously, but in my mind portrays the horrors of war and the sacrifices that so many have made to give us freedom. And I think, Matt Damon's character at the end, when he turns into an old man and he's visiting those graves of all the fallen soldiers that are there, specifically Tom Hanks' character, and he asks a great question, have I earned it? Have I earned this? And he's surrounded by his family. And really the answer is yes, because of the family and the children and the place that he's standing. That's a big answer to that question. He's earned it. Clearly loved by his family, clearly has done right by everyone, seemingly.
But I can see how guys in that position would have to live with that survivor's guilt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the only one left, and all these other guys, this guy came after me and brought me back home. He's not even here anymore. I can see how they have to live with that, and that's got to be tough.
Yeah.
Got to be tough.
But I don't think, as a person who's never experienced war or had to go into the military, I don't think we can express our gratitude enough, or even maybe don't even have enough a mental capacity or experience, really, to understand the sacrifice that other people have made and done for us, to give us the even opportunity to record this podcast, to sit here in a country that's free, that's protected, that's got as many rights as we do, even rights to say bad things about anything that we want or good things, but at least the freedom is there, protected by the men and women who've given their lives. So we don't mean to make this any kind of political or any kind of podcast, but definitely want to show appreciation and say thank you. So we need to do a list of some of the top 10 movies that honor veterans. What I mean? We should think about doing that maybe on a Veterans Day. But you can't talk about Saving Private Ryan and Memorial Day without being grateful for the sacrifices made. So
couldn't agree more. And I kind of hate that. I got to follow that to end.
It's an impossible follow.
It is, and especially with my last one. Like, it's the most underwhelming title on my list.
Oh, no.
And to have to go after that, it's like, man, maybe
it's so heavy. Maybe I should have went last. Okay, my bad.
I'll just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. I'm not going to try to. This is Leprechaun.
And folks, that's the show. We want to thank you for listening here on the Top 10 Movie Podcast, because I don't think we could say another word than that. That is the perfect ending to a perfect show.
That's it.
Leprechaun. That's all I got. how can we just? There's nothing to be said.
Nothing to be said. I'm just apologetic right now.
All right,
I'll make up for it the next one, I promise.
I'm Mulley. This is Mike. I guess that's how we're going to end.
I'm going to go cry in the car.
And thank you one more time. Thank you for listening, guys. We appreciate you. Hey, you know what you can do to help us? Share this podcast with someone. Let a friend know that you have found now maybe you're not your best pod. Maybe not your second best pod. Maybe not the third.
You know what?
But you just found a new.
Even if they're listening just to pass the time.
That's right.
You're giving us.
Maybe you're working at the salon.
Yeah.
And you got nothing to do at 2:30, so you just kind of swing by and see what. Anyway, thanks for listening. We love you all. We thank you all, and we hope that you'll join us again. Mike, last words?
Pay your bills, wear sunscreen, and stop at red lights.
See you later.